Anyway, on to Biden's number 2, or is she now 1.5? Kamala Harris. For the past 2 weeks, America and the world have thrilled to the closest thing the U.S. will ever get to a coronation. The Democrats' anointment of Kamala Harris as their unlikely dragon slayer to take on their great foe, Donald J. Trump. And like her predecessor, and with all the dignity befitting a new crown princess, she has not sat down for any interviews with the grubby press, not done a hard-hitting interview, not done a press conference. But her verbal skills were still on display again with this one question she did take from the press. Taking up.
This is just an extraordinary testament to the importance of having a president who understands the power of diplomacy and understands the strength that rests in understanding the significance of diplomacy and strengthening alliances. This is an incredible day.
Did you heave your eyes on Joe Biden there? Seriously, there's not a bouncer in Sydney that would have let that guy out of it into their pub. But at least she understands the strength of the power of the understanding of diplomacy, or something like that. And you can see why now they're keeping her in basically witness or witless protection program until the election, can't you? I mean, earlier in the day, she gave a brief statement to the press, but as her old boss Joe Biden was in the habit of doing, she has mastered the art of the walk away, lest she put her foot in it again.
Thank you all.
Madam Vice President, will you be meeting Evan and Paul when they return?
She learned from the master. It's a bit late in the game now, of course, for a new pandemic to let her campaign do the entire campaign from the basement like Joe did in 2020, so I guess that's the best we're going to do for a while. But despite the sort of deep coordination between the ruling party and the media totalitarian states can only dream of, there have been some miscues, like this. It appears some staffer, ahead of the expected announcement of Kamala Harris's running mate, supposed to be at an event in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania this coming Tuesday, well, they hit the go button on an ad revealing that the vice presidential pick may just well be Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro.
Are we ready to fight for it?
She is the right person at the right time for this job.
It's going to do right by labor. It's going to do right by working people.
And I can't think of a better partner than our Governor Josh Shapiro.
Could this have been a massive mistake by the Kamala campaign? Or maybe they let that out, but the campaign is foxing us all, having cut ads for all sorts of different shortlisted vice presidential candidates. We'll find out soon, but Shapiro would certainly be an interesting choice. He might help deliver votes in a crucial state where people will be furious at Kamala Harris's multiple pledges to ban fracking, that being Pennsylvania. But on the other hand, the fact that he's Jewish would surely infuriate the hard left, keffiyeh-clad brown shirt wing of the Democrat Party. And he's also, I have to say, very articulate, far more so than Harris, and he'll be upstaging her every step of the way if he is picked. He'll want to be articulate, too, because, mark my words, we're going to hear a lot more about Josh Shapiro, including a bizarre case of a young Pennsylvania woman who was stabbed to death in 2011 in her Philadelphia apartment, yet whose death by what the medical examiner found were as many as 20 stab wounds was ruled a suicide and signed off on by a young local attorney general named, that's the guy, Josh Shapiro. There's also claims that Shapiro acted improperly in hushing up a sexual harassment case involving a mate of his for $300,000 and failing to keep such a thing from happening in the first place in the office he ran. So, interesting times, but before anyone gets too cocky on the right, this choice is not a walk-up hit for the Trump camp, which has spent the last week arguing over whether Kamala Harris is black or Indian, rather than punching hard on the economy, crime, and borders. In the meantime, this week, Harris will hold events in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. She's on the road, and there is this. In July, she raised a record $310 million to Trump's $138 million. Even if some of that's funny money, and I'm sure it is, it's still money, and the battle for president is now well and truly joined. Finally, in just over a month, New York judge, let's keep this in mind, Juan Merchan, also presides over the sentencing of Donald Trump, which could add yet another wrinkle to this already wild race.